Actually, there's a really... I saw a really funny comment regarding 12 minutes, because I think IGN put up like a 6-minute playthrough or something, and it's like the top comment is like, oh, how bad of IGN to spoil half the game without letting anyone know.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Matt. Welcome to the Real Gamerscore podcast. This week I'm joined by Cameron.
Hey.
Connor.
Hey.
And Johnson.
Hello.
Here at Real Gamerscore, we like to discuss all things Xbox achievements and how 2001 was apparently the best year ever for both video games and toilet humor. This week we discuss the finer points of Halo 2 and Mass Effect 3, how we keep it all in the family, and you should follow us on Twitter, you dick. But first, here's the song of the week. I game alone. Yeah, with no co-op buds. I game alone. Yeah, with no co-op buds. You know when I game alone, I prefer to double box by myself. Now every day I'm boosting online. I don't need no sessions or LFG. Just me and my good buddy Piani. That's all I ever need, 'cause I game alone.
That's it.
Yep, no, you got it,
Alright,
you got it.
All
Alright,
right.
any guesses?
I'll
It's,
cycle I'll be a gentleman. I'll let the guest goes first.
okay, so what you're saying is you haven't got a fucking clue.
Yeah, no idea.
Fair enough.
It sounds like I could know it, but I feel like I definitely don't know it by name.
Fair. It is. It's not the most popular of his songs, but it's one that I was listening to the other day, and I thought that actually fits quite well.
Is it? I'm just going to go out on a limb, and is it something like Frank Sinatra or?
No, it's much more contemporary. Well, much more contemporary, but it's more contemporary than that. So it's George Thorogood and the Destroyers, and it's I Drink Alone. I was tempted to do Bad to the Bone or something like that, but I figured that would probably be too obvious. Might get that one.
That's what we like though. When it is obvious.
Yeah, but no. Sure, but if I throw it, but like last week's was like so fucking easy. Everyone, even in the chat, got it. So I'm not, got to spice it up a little bit. And also, it's fucking hard running a song every goddamn week, all right? Anyway,
I told you we just got to resort to doing like Peppa Pig themes and. Actually, I need to cycle to that this week too.
Oh God, no! Please no. After Baby Shark, I'm not letting you do any songs.
I would not be surprised if we're going to see a Baby Shark video game coming out.
That sounds like the worst thing possible. So
there's a TV show now, so I've already punished enough. You all have to suffer with me.
Yeah, Alison is doing the Baby Shark dance in the background here. Thank you, really appreciate that. So let's get into the housekeeping before we get on with the show proper. Discord. Discord.io/RealGamerscore is your place to get in contact with us and our community. You can chat with us about the podcast, about things in general. We've got a serious chat. We've got a silly chat for memes. We've got... we host some of our competitions there. We've got a place where you can look if you're looking for a boosting party. And also our Patreons have a special channel where they get to chat shit, and we post up some of our exclusive content that we do for them. Speaking of Patrons, patreon.com/RealGamerscore is the place for you to give us some cash. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's basically a subscription service where you can help support the artists. Although I, dread to call myself an artist. Artists or entertainers, although, again, those doesn't sound much better either. Shit talkers on the internet with your cold, hard cash to allow us to, pay for competitions, run server costs, equipment, stuff like that. We all really, really appreciate our patrons. So if you want to help us out there, feel free. We also do some exclusive Patreon content in the form currently of the Lights, Camera, and Action podcast. Again, still the greatest name of a podcast I've ever heard.
I disagree. I think the original name should have stuck.
The Real Movie Score podcast?
No, it was the God, it was such a long and considered title.
Oh, it was let's watch a movie that Cameron hasn't seen but Matt has seen, and then get quizzed about it afterwards.
Yeah, there's something like that.
Unfortunately, I couldn't quite get the acronym to work, so we decided to go with LCA. because you don't know shit about SEO apparently. But yeah, so we just released episode 4 of that for Tomb Raider 2001 classic, I think it was.
And we made episode 1 available for everyone.
Yes. So if you go on the Patreon now, you can listen to our first episode for the original Mortal Kombat movie, which is now available for everyone, even non-Patreons, to get a bit of a taste. The whole idea is that we want you to give us some money. Basically, I'm not even going to lie about it. It's just to whet the appetite, and for you to be like, man, this is even better than the podcast I listen to normally. But again, like if you guys listen to it and you have any feedback, we always want to hear some of that and get ideas for new movies. We're going to be doing the Sam and Max series coming up probably over the next week or so when we find some time.
Have you started watching them?
So, of course not. Why would I be doing that? That would mean I'd be prepared for this.
I would say, just a quick, quick sneak peek. I decided to watch a few episodes of Stephanie. The very first one that I picked had to be one about the Olympian gods, the Greek gods.
Oh, okay.
I was just like, out of the blue, like, oh yeah, let's just play episode 7. And it's about...
yeah, that's the kind of thing you would do rather than starting at number 1, but whatever.
Look, me and Nikita watched like the first few, and then I was just like skipping around. Just great show, but I'll talk more about it.
How do I do a podcast with you? Anyway, so we've also got the Real Gamerscore Word Challenge, which is our big competition. I'm still waiting for Kirby to come up with a new one. I'm going to bother him about it this week, over the weekend. So if you check the Word Challenge channel on the Discord on Monday or Tuesday, there should be a new challenge up with a new clue. And basically, the way it works is Kirby, former host, comes up with a video game and puts it into our bot. And basically, you have to guess what the game is. And each week, we give a clue. Usually a really unhelpful clue if past challenges are anything to go by. Such previous clues have included, I think it was like the number 40, I think it was, or something, for the Hannah Montana game, because it turned out that Montana was the 40th state of the US. Those kinds of useless fucking clues. But if you guess the game, you win $10. If you don't get it, the next week it goes up to 20, then 30, then 40, and we make the clues easier. I force Kirby. I'm like, hey, just basically give it away by the time we get to the 4th week, because we do want to give out some prizes. So keep an eye out for that. We'll have more information for that probably in the next couple of days or so. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get on to the main part of the podcast. Let's talk to our guests here. Cameron?
Hello, guests.
Hello.
You know I had to. All right, so I guess you two just want to introduce yourselves a bit.
Yeah, I'll let Connor go first.
Classic.
Classic.
That is the most Irish British thing I've ever seen in my life.
I will literally go. I'll let you go first.
I'll take you up on your
offer, you go
Connor.
first.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So my name's Owen Johnson. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Unofficial Game Pass podcast, and Connor and I run Rapture Radio, which for legal reasons we don't make any money off. Also, with regards to, I suppose, kind of, what do you want me to kind of talk into depth? Just is that a general intro like that? Is that okay? Or
I guess, yeah, just talk. I guess, how'd you two meet? Why decide to
go on your honeymoon? All that kind of stuff. Do you like long walks on the beach?
I wasn't going to go like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So after a long courtship, I finally got Connor to do a podcast with me. Connor and I actually met in a different Discord server. This podcast evolved, which is another podcast that revolves around the universe of Halo. And both of us met there because there's a streamer that does game nights and Halo, and custom games and whatnot. So I think we kind of bonded as the only Europeans in that entire server, I imagine, at this stage. And since then, Connor and I have kind of both know that we've a real love for talking about games in depth and everything, like some of the weirdest stuff that will ever come up. And it just so happened that both of us were also big proponents and fans of Game Pass. We think it's such a brilliant service for consumers, especially, and it exposes people to a lot of games that maybe they wouldn't have gotten an idea of what they were about if they had to pay for it. So yeah, no, that's how we that's how we met, and then we just kind of started the podcast around 3 months ago, kind of delving into that. I think Connor, you can probably go a little bit more in depth to it, because I feel like, as usual on our podcast, I'm kind of hogging the talking time.
Yeah, well, the podcast is basically your baby, because you've got Odin's got a various different YouTube channels on the go, and I was very impressed at like his level of editing. Like he did a few kind of video essays on games, and he runs like a politics channel, which obviously is such a mad crossover. But he asked me if I wanted to do a podcast, and I was like, yes, definitely. And obviously we met by playing Halo. We both play Xbox, both love Game Pass, and I'm a writer. I'm finishing my degree in creative writing and literature at university, so I love like the story and the writing in games, and I can talk about that all day. So it was a good marriage of minds, I guess.
I do want to just quickly say before we move on, just with regards to the whole like doing a politics thing as well on the side, I was very quickly made aware that people who say that they do politics and gaming often turn out to be weird conspiracy theorists online. So I just want to kind of point out very quickly that I am not one of those people. The stuff I do is very much mainstreamed Irish political interviews with politicians. So yeah, no, it's very much a niche subject, but I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about Gamergate or anything like that. Don't worry about it.
So
no, it's probably good to nip that in the bud. That's totally fair.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about like your podcast and that sort of stuff for people who haven't listened, for a lot of our community who are trying to, want to get an idea of what you guys talk about and what, how it all works, and try to convince them to move over.
Mm-hmm. No, listen to both equally. That's
sure. That's what I meant. That's what I mean, if they're already listening to this, we've already got them, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Unofficial Game Pass podcast is a podcast where we try and do it weekly, where we take a game and we talk about it for about an hour, and that's either like spoiler-free discussion, whether you should pick up the game or avoid it, or like a spoiler discussion, go like deep into the story and stuff. So that came about of like, there's so many games on Game Pass. How do you navigate like which ones to play, and when they come out, are you going to make space on your hard drive for that game? So it's really like just providing something where we talk about it, and from that discussion you can get an idea for whether you want to play it or not. And that's uploaded to our channel, our YouTube channel, Rapture Radio, where we also do other things like theme of the week, where we put up our favorite tracks from video game soundtracks, and also other stuff. We did a recent gaming news video. Like we're branching into other things, but the Unofficial Game Pass podcast is like the main thing that we're doing.
I just say that I was going through today just to have a look, and just did the interview with Thomas Sala, the Falcon Air dev. That was a really good one.
Yeah,
I love
more
of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that was all Connor's idea as well, to be honest, because I had never heard of the Falconeer until he kind of brought it to my attention. And honestly, for anyone listening, what a fantastic game! Like, even if you just like, I think it's kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. I think if you stick with it, it's very much it's so much more of a personal story than you'll get with any sort of AAA game at the moment. And I don't mean to sound like indie snobbish or whatnot, because I know that can come across sometimes, but like Thomas is like especially such a down to earth person as well. Like the fact that like he was willing to talk to like a channel with only 20 subscribers at the time, like about his game as well, like just kind of speaks volumes about him as a person. So yeah, no, we were delighted to have him on. Like, and he's someone we'd hope to get on again in the future when he creates bigger and better projects.
Fantastic. It is really great to have that sort of view from the outside, right? And to get people talking passionately about the games that they make and what they care about. It's because it's got a unique perspective, right? Is that like and Cameron and I talk about games all the fucking time, and we haven't got a clue at the end of the day. As much as we enjoy them, we can only enjoy them as us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it feels weird when you're talking about like we did a whole episode on the video game BAFTAs, and it feels weird talking about games from like a critical point of view when you're just the one playing them. Like you have no stake in the industry, you don't really know anything on the inside, but yet we do consume this material and have thoughts about it. So,
absolutely. In terms of what you guys actually play, I mean, obviously you play a lot of Game Pass games, but do you guys have preferred genres? Do you have sort of series that you're really into? Do you have like games that you started with that you've like stuck with you for years? Like, what's kind of your history with video gaming, I guess?
Yeah, Connor, I'll let you answer this one first because I know you're dying to answer it.
Well, I mean, I started off with Halo. I mean, I grew up in a household with like Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, the original Xbox, GameCube, Game Boy. You know, I had them all really. But Halo was like the first one. So I grew up with Halo, and I think when, you know, the whole pandemic happened and I wanted to get, you know, more into gaming, back into gaming, it was Halo I returned to. It's like, oh, Master Chief Collection, brilliant. I bought the new Xbox without even really... I didn't even really know what Game Pass was at that time. Didn't even know it was a thing. And then, you know, it was a happy coincidence that it was. But shooters, I like shooters a lot. I love indie games with like unique art styles and unique mechanics. But in the end, like, I'm grabbed by stories and, you know, games that tell really good stories. So at the minute, it's Resident Evil and Yakuza, stuff like that. I get sucked into, you know, a franchise with like loads of games in a series. I'll dive deep into it.
I gotta say, your meme channel on your Discord, just with all the Resident Evil stuff.
Yeah. I'll post whatever I'm playing. I'll probably be following like a few meme channels, and then I'll just post loads of memes of that particular game that I'm playing.
It's a good way to get an idea of how you're enjoying a game, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to Connor in that sense. Funnily enough, this will make me sound a lot younger than I actually am, but my first console was the Nintendo Wii. That is purely for the fact that I am 21. It makes me sound about like, I don't know, I'm 15 or something. But like, that was purely for the fact that at the time, you know, my parents weren't very big on buying a games console if it didn't really have any sort of real purpose. And the Wii was a great way of being like, oh, we have the Wii Fit, we can like exercise or whatnot. Which swiftly got thrown away after it called one of my parents obese. So like, that's an even better story in and of itself. But yeah, I have a big affinity for the old TT games, like the Lego games. I like, because those are the sort of stuff I grew up on, particularly Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, stuff like Bionicle Heroes, which is more of a niche title, to be honest. But anyone who grew up in that sort of time period and was obsessed with Lego, particularly who was like a guy growing up, like absolutely adored Bionicle. So I got my Xbox 360 in about quite late to the game, probably 2011, 2012. So I don't have any of those nostalgic memories for the original, like, opening menus or whatever. So from then, I think I got a bundle of, like, I think it was Lego Batman and Halo 3, which are two really weird games to put in a bundle together. But from that, like, I think I've kind of, as Connor was mentioned, like, if you own an Xbox, you probably love Halo. So it's no mistake that I'm kind of still looking at that franchise today. But I think probably I do generate more towards the first-person shooter genre. I've really gotten into sort of the older titles now, like the original Dooms. Blood is another good one. Quake as well. But I feel like that's probably an overexposure to first-person shooters when I was younger. I feel like now, especially with Game Pass, there'll be a whole new generation that'll probably have some really niche favorite genres because they'll be able to be exposed to it so much earlier on.
Yeah, 100%. That's, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing with Game Pass, right? It's that, like, and we've talked about it many times over the years around, like, you know, Game Pass is it's good for what we do in terms of all the games we play, but it's even better for people just jumping into the system, right? Like, it's the perfect onboarding. Just like, hey, this is a bit of everything that you want to try or didn't even know you wanted. And it's like, yeah, most of the stuff on there is stuff that I've already played, but like, then again, like, I'm playing through the whole Final Fantasy series at the moment, and Game Pass has been perfect for that because it's given me an excuse to go back to games that I was like, oh yeah, no, I played those when I was younger, and like I kind of want to play them again, but now that I don't have to pay anything, I'm like 100% just do them.
Yeah, I want to just jump in on that point very quickly. I think it's really important to note as well that obviously from established gaming fans, like, Game Pass is going to kind of be almost an afterthought, I think, until recently where they started putting first day releases out on it. But if you take it from the perspective of somebody whose parents are buying them a console and don't have like €70 or whatever to be paying for each brand new release, like, it's such a fantastic service for anyone to have. Like, because I remember, like, most of the time when I was getting games when I was younger, they were like €10 on sale in GameStop or whatnot. So like, now you've kind of got Game Pass, which is I think it's $12.99 a month. I'm not sure how much the yearly fee is, but I'm sure it's cheaper than 120 or whatnot. or whatever the maths, 144. So yeah, no, I think it's just such a fantastic service. I think Microsoft in particular have done a fantastic job of making gaming an accessible genre for people now. You know, the Xbox Series S is like the cheapest console with like some of the most powerful hardware you can get at the moment. Game Pass along with that makes it even more of an economic viable option. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, whether you're a fan of like a particular console, what Game Pass and Xbox do is like pretty much make the genre open to more people, which at the end of the day is what everyone who's involved in the medium can hope for.
And it's been a good competitive advantage for Microsoft to have that sort of feather in their cap coming off, you know, having a relatively rough generation. And yeah, but it's the thing, like I've, long-time listeners will know that I'm trying not to buy any games last year and this year. I mean, I've, you know, with varying levels of success. Trying. I mean, you know, I'm not perfect, right? But there are still the odd game that I'm just like, no, I need to have it if it's on a good enough sale. But Game Pass has really been my way of you know, once I've looking at my backlog, being like, I don't want to play any of these fucking games, but you know,
we should.
Final Fantasy X comes to Game Pass, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to jump on it day one, just get straight into it. It's exactly what I want to play right now. It's got the right level of nostalgia, and I thought about buying it, but it's there, and it gives me an excuse to play it without feeling like I'm spending all my money or, you know, losing out.
We should do a bit of a social experiment, and I guess start off maybe next month or something, and just every new game we begin, track what the retail price is and how much was saved over time. It's like,
I can't imagine.
For achievement hunters like us, it's just incredible value.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's not just, you know, I mean, it's not just, you know, shitty little like 2-hour 1000G throwaway games, right? There's still a lot of like really good, like we've talked about in the past, like there are a lot of games that are perfect Game Pass games in my opinion, right? Like one of the one that comes to mind is like Creature in the Well, which was like such a really interesting, like shortish, like a genre bending game that I probably wouldn't have even looked at twice if it wasn't in Game Pass and just available for me right now. And I really enjoyed the time I had with it, and I played through it, got everything out of it that I wanted, and enjoyed it. We talked about it on the show, and then I kind of moved on and it was great. It didn't cost me anything, but my time. And I really enjoyed the time I spent with it. And there are like a lot of hidden gems on that platform, which I'm sure you guys have gone through heaps of them, pulling those out. And I'll probably talk some more about Pogs when we get to what I've been playing, because I'm having a great time with that. All right, well,
I guess before we move on, the last question I want to ask too, because you both come from Halo, what is your favorite Halo game?
What? That's the most controversial question you've asked, and it's such a dangerous question.
That's why I had to put it in there.
I know Connor's answer to this, so I'm gonna let Connor go first, because Connor's spoken in depth before to me about like why he finds this, and I heavily dispute it, to be honest. But you know, go ahead there, Connor.
Yeah, I find it weird because I love my favourites are Combat Evolved and Halo 3. I love Combat Evolved for the atmosphere and everything that game does. But I love Halo 3 for like the gameplay and how tight that sandbox is and everything runs so smoothly. But I think Combat Evolved, just like the initial experience, and because it was like my first game, like the atmosphere and the music of that game is perfect to me.
I can see it. Yeah, it'd probably be between those two for me as well, actually, come to think of it.
I'm going to kind of go off beaten track. I have... narratively speaking, my favorite Halo game is ODST, and that's just purely from a stylistic perspective. I just love that sort of noir sense to that genre, and particularly it's such an easy game. Like, particularly, I'm someone who loves to pick up a game and be able to put it down again rather than having to delve 60 hours into it. So, like, ODST is like at most a 3-hour campaign, and then you're kind of finished with it, and you can keep coming back to it. Along with that, I'm a big fan of, this is a controversial opinion, but Halo 5. I think it has probably one of the most refined multiplayers in the Halo series. And that's coming from someone who doesn't have this weird obsession with Halo 3 half the time. And that's not to say, I really do like Halo 3, and it's such a controversial thing as well. It's unfortunate because it'll get you absolutely blasted on Twitter if you speak ill of Halo 3. But I do really like Halo 3. It's the first game I played in the Halo series, so I'm going to have some affinity towards it. But Halo 5 is where I met most of the people I know on Xbox at the moment, so like I'm going to obviously have a favouring towards that as well.
All right. The correct answer was Halo MCC because it has all of them.
No, it's not. No, it's really not. It's really not. I mean,
not at launch. Definitely not at launch.
Definitely not at launch. No, absolutely.
Oh.
Well, you're gonna say Halo 2, and then we have to kick you off the show. So
no way. You know what? Like when I went back to Halo 2 is not as bad as I remember it. If you do it with a friend.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure.
It's tedious to go through.
It's a corridor shooter, like in a way that's just not. Yeah,
it gets way too much praise. I don't know how. Like I say this after saying you get blasted on Twitter for loving Halo 3, and here I am blasting Halo 2. But like, I never understand how Halo 2 is like, oh, it's the best game in the series. Like, everything is so repetitive half the time. You go through like the same shooting galleries over and over again. And Halo 1 had a major problem with this, but Halo 2 is like, it's one of the shortest games in the Halo series, but it feels like the longest to me whenever I play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I would say probably Halo. Man, I think ODST is probably my favorite. The one that like I sat down and just like played all the way through. Really enjoyed the noir aspect, and just the kind of the smaller, more self-contained story.
You have to go with a game that has Nathan Fillion in it without being 5. That's the rule.
Firefly, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, he was in 5 as well, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Without it being 5, because 5 was
sure. Well, I mean, like
5's okay.
Like the multiplayer in 5 is so good.
Yeah,
just that fucking story. I mean, like I'm a big narrative gamer myself. Like I'm all about the story, and gameplay always comes second for me. So 5 really was a bit of a kick in the face, but at least it wasn't as bad as 4. So, anyway, before we burn all of our audience with our opinions, let's move on to some of the news. Cameron, what have you dug up for us this week?
All right, so the first one I wanted to start with, and I think it was a pretty cool thing that I come across on Twitter today. Chili Dog Interactive are making an upcoming game called Restless Night, and basically they engage with the community on Twitter to essentially a little bit of smart PR, retweet our game, and put your name as your gamer tag as a comment, and you can go in the chance to be named after an achievement in game.
Huh.
Which I thought was pretty interesting way to get some community engagement. Is essentially they're going to have 50 achievements in this, and then they drew out the first 10 today. I won't list all of them, but 2 of them are Cheetah Zooey and Carnage. I mean, Carnage is always on the Twitter, so...
Yeah, fair. So, I'd be surprised if he wasn't on there.
Yeah. So it kind of gave me a thought today to ask our community if there was an achievement named after them, what they would basically like it to be. Mm-hmm. And we got some really interesting responses that will go in later in the show. But I just thought this was a little bit of smart PR, and there's a few little things like this in the achievement community lately that I just wanted to touch base on because I think they deserve a little bit of recognition there. Pretty sure there was Dwaggy got recognized a few months ago.
Oh, it was a while back.
He's
got like a DLC thing for him. Yeah. There's a few other ones in there as well.
So it's nice seeing stuff like that, but I thought I'd just chuck that in as a little bit of a feel-good story. I guess the next one is 20-year-old...
I was going to say, tell us about this Easter egg thing I'm reading about now.
Yeah, so essentially there was a 20-year-old original Xbox Easter egg revealed, which has to do with the original dashboard. What's the best way to explain this? I find the timing of it so funny, 20 years of Xbox, that the dev has actually reached out to... the original developer for it has actually reached out to Kotaku and said, hey, funnily enough, we have this interesting little Easter egg from the original developers. So all you need to do is to go to music, insert an audio CD. On the audio CD screen, you need to select
copy.
That's the hard
bit. Where are you going to get an audio CD these days, mate?
You need to select copy, click copy again, and then choose new soundtrack. It'll ask you to rename the soundtrack. What name do you think they gave to it?
I don't know.
Timmy?
Well, actually, I do know because I just read it.
Yeah, Timmy with 26 Ys.
Oh, so like South Park's Timmy.
Yeah, so the South Park reference to Timmy.
Jesus.
So once the console
This
finishes,
definitely
copying
is a
the
20-year-old Easter egg. Holy shit.
tracks- Yeah. So, one, how did they think people were going to find this? Unless they're
they
reverse
didn't,
engineering
obviously.
it. Once the console finishes copying the tracks, head back to the main menu of the console's dashboard, click on settings, then system info. New screen listing will appear that was not previously there, and it contains a list of the 4 members that were a part of the Xbox dashboard team.
Okay, so they would just put that in there being like, yeah, then no one's ever going to find this.
Yeah. So, because nobody ever found it, they actually reached out to Kotaku just to say, hey,
They're like,
just
all right,
so you
fine,
know.
20 years is long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The embargo's over.
Yeah, exactly. They can't get me anymore. Statute of limitations.
I found it pretty cool with all the, with all the marketing going into the 20 years of Xbox, then announcing the Digital Fan Fest. And I mean, going back to the Halo conversation, I would be very, very surprised if Halo Infinite isn't announced to be the 20th year anniversary of Halo CE.
But
But then they could do a Microsoft and release it in September.
Yeah, well, that's... yeah. I don't think Microsoft... Well, I guess E3 is, like 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see, but I would be very surprised if anything comes out about Halo that's not a Halo Infinite at this point.
Yeah.
Apparently there's also another Easter egg that's in there that they're still looking for. It
Yeah.
has something to do with the boot animation, but no one's found it yet.
So not the only Easter egg you can find in the original Xbox, which you can activate by going to the audio CD ripping. There is a more commonly known Easter egg which you can go activate by going to the audio CD, ripping screen on the console, and naming the new rip. What is it, like close bracket Xbox?
Yeah, Xbox, as in like the... Yeah.
Which would trigger a hidden credit roll. But yeah, there's one more undiscovered Easter egg for the console. So, dig out the original Xbox and
and then
see if I-
make sure you launch it into orbit so you can set it up, because that thing was fucking massive. Holy shit, that thing was big.
I kind of had the thought the other day too, whether with the 20 years of Xbox, whether they'll do a kind of reskin. Not so much of the console itself because of the stock issues, but you know how PlayStation did their, was it 20 years or 25th year anniversary for their PS4 Pro in the PS1.
Oh yeah, in the weird, the grey color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe again, like this whole 20th year thing is just kind of snuck up on me in terms of I was thinking about it. I was like, of course it's been 20 years, but I don't know, things have changed so much for Xbox, and also the world's kind of in a different place for gaming in general, that it's kind of I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're doing much with it, or that they have much they can do with it outside of just sort of talking about it on podcasts and stuff.
I mean, I think at the moment it's purely we're announcing that we're going to do stuff. The Fan Fest will be digital because of COVID, but it'd be interesting to see what kind of effect they had, because I would love to go to an actual physical Fan Fest.
Really? I don't know.
I think that'd be an amazing opportunity.
I mean, you guys are obviously Xbox fans as such with Game Pass and everything, but do you have much affinity for? I mean, because you guys started with the Wii and started with with Halo and that kind of stuff. How do you how do you guys feel around how Microsoft treats stuff as a company? Obviously, you guys are the Unofficial podcast, but
you can say the stuff we can't.
I personally think that I think they're doing a lot better now than they were. There's, I mean, when you look at Xbox, you've got the team with Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg and Sarah Bond. You can look at the individuals doing all the great stuff for Game Pass and all the different things, and they have names and they have personalities. And you look at this 20-year thing, and there's some sentimentality to it. There's nostalgia. They release stuff, and hopefully they're doing events. Whereas at the crossover from the last generation, where they brought the Xbox One out, I was just so disillusioned with Xbox that I bought a PlayStation 4. and they've come a really long way since then. I think I dropped out of gaming for a few years just because I think my PS4, well, it didn't have Halo, and
doesn't help. Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima didn't come out yet, so like I was probably there weren't enough games to interest me, I don't think. But now, having got an Xbox again with Game Pass, with all the promise of things to come, I feel Xbox is in a great place. I love where they are. I think, to be honest, they're miles ahead in PlayStation in terms of what they're doing for consumers and kind of the brand image they're putting forward. So,
yeah, I think. Or no, yeah. Sorry, go on there.
I was going to say, what consoles are you guys currently running on?
Well, both of us are on Series X. And which is honestly one of the luckiest things in the world. I think, Connor, did you get yours on day one?
Yes, yeah. I was one of those people up at 8 a.m. Clicking the link, getting my dad to click the link as well on a different website. We both got one, and then I cancelled my order. I'm basically solely playing on Series X now because I can't imagine playing without quick resume, and how fast that console is. I love it.
I got it in the less ceremonious way in which I knew someone who was working at a store that was getting a shipment and asked them to keep me one, which also came with a handy staff discount as well, so even better. I kind of, when I first got it, I kind of left it to the side for like maybe a week or so because there wasn't much on it that wasn't on the Xbox One. And then I kind of got to realize how much better it was to have it on the Series X because stuff runs so much better. I think at the time as well, I had recently gotten a PC as well, so I was kind of playing around with that as well, seeing what I could get out of it. But like for like the more up-to-date stuff, I'll get on the Series X. I have a Switch and a PS4 as well, so I'll take those out every now and then. Funnily enough, I bought the Switch in like the middle of our first lockdown in Ireland, and I brought it with the pure intention of having it as a going-away console. So it's like probably the worst time to buy it. So I just have it here sitting, collecting dust until I end up going somewhere. So that's what I'm on at the moment. Just to say on the whole, if I'm looking forward to sort of what Microsoft are going to be doing this year, I think in fairness, Microsoft has always looked like the kind of, and maybe this is me looking from an Xbox centric perspective almost, but like whenever you think of like PlayStation, it's always more of an affinity towards the games that come out on PlayStation as opposed to the actual people that run it. Because I don't think many people have a big sort of loving for Sony, and I'm not saying that anyone has a big loving for Microsoft. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be having a big loving for like any big corporation, but like at the same time, it's like you know the likes of Phil Spencer when he comes out at the E3 conference, like the relationship they've had with Bethesda even before they were purchased. Like it's sort of like they've always had this sort of more consumer based approach. Specifically with this generation, I think Sony kind of one-upped them last generation because of all the controversy surrounding the Xbox One. But now I think, like, there's not a thing, like, with Game Pass kind of, like, is the most consumer-based thing you could possibly do. And I don't know, it kind of makes me laugh all the time when people are like, oh my god, but Microsoft won't make money off this. And it's like, well, why do you care? Like, like, you're not Microsoft. Like, at the end of the day, you're the person reaping the benefits of Game Pass. I just wouldn't see why you get so annoyed about it. But yeah, no, I kind of hope they do something where they like have like all the games released at E3 and like they bring out The Rock or something again. Like I just think that would be such a great way to top off the 20 years.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
That would be great, actually. Yeah, it's funny you were talking about.
I mean, look, the partnerships are there too at the moment. Like they did the Zelda stuff.
That's true. Yes. As Infectious Donk, CJ in the chat has just said, not sure about Microsoft, but plenty of pony love here. Because he's a big Sony pony, but yeah, I guess that at the end of the day, these are two corporations who are just after your cold hard cash, and anything they do for PR is only really for their own benefit. But we just try to reap the benefits where we can. Eat the rich, Caesar means of production, as I always
guess. I was going to quickly just ask: do you think we would be in the same position now if Microsoft was under the leadership of somebody else other than Phil Spencer?
Well, I was going to joke that for the 20-year anniversary, are they going to bring Don Matrick back for an interview or two?
No.
I suspect not.
The Xbox One launch is just a 1-second clip, and they just
Yeah,
quickly
exactly.
keep it
It's
under
like
the
it's,
rug.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got a console for you, and then they just cut it. Yeah, it's no, probably not. I mean, like I think that because you're right about them definitely being more personality focused, and I think that's partly because that's their strategy, right? They want to have people front and center who the leading drivers behind a lot of the corporate moves that they're making, and have a face to the name, and make them seem like not a soulless corporation. Whereas I think part of that is that Microsoft is an American company, Sony is Japanese company, sort of. I mean, obviously has is a Japanese company originally, although they've become very European based recently in terms of their management and leadership. And so that sort of difference in tone about letting the games speak for themselves, and the company itself is not the personality; it's what you play on it, which seems to has been working well for them last generation, PS4 for sure. Like they definitely had the more interesting exclusives in a lot of ways, and a lot of stuff that I'm sad that I just haven't had a chance to play. Like I want to play God of Wars and Ghost of Tsushima's and all that kind of stuff, Spider-Man, but at the end of the day, like I play everything, so it's like the Xbox model makes more sense for me. And at 1.6 million, I'm a little bit invested at this point. It'll be a little hard to convince me to move over. But yeah,
they also I do want to say, like, they kind of almost have to be personality focused at this stage, because up until recently with the purchasing of ZeniMax and Bethesda, like there was very few active exclusive titles that drew people solely for the games to Xbox. So it was very much like, I remember one of my big problems with PlayStation when I moved over to it was the user interface was atrocious. And maybe that's just because I was approaching it from a new perspective and having played Xbox for so long. But say what you will about like Xbox maybe moving to this more home entertainment system as opposed to pure gaming, like at least it makes everything so much more accessible in the UI interface. And I know it's not a lot to be like jumping up and down about like, oh, you have your exclusives, but guess what, we have a class UI. Like obviously there's going to be games that are just going to naturally draw me to the PS4, but I think from a marketing standpoint, up until at least recently, because like, let's be honest, like Xbox titles, Bethesda titles are going to be exclusive to Xbox. There's no way they're going to like purchase Bethesda and then be like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, we'll let it go on PlayStation, like our biggest competitor. No, not a chance. And the same with like, yeah, the same with, I mean, the one good thing about if you like Xbox games and you're on a PS4 is that they are still available on PC, which is something that you can't say for many PlayStation games. I think Horizon is just getting ported over to PC. I know there's been loads of calls for stuff like Bloodborne to go over as well. Like, so yeah, no, I will say, and I know it's just, it's like one of the weirdest things to be like, oh, just buy a PC, because like a PC costs a lot of money, but like at the same time there is that option there.
I was going to say
PCs cost a lot of money, especially right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I do want to. Go on.
I think I was going to say with it to. Lost my track. I lost my track. It's good. You go. Okay. I'll come back to it.
I was going to say on the.
That's fine. I won't edit that out.
on the question of leadership, I think it takes sort of stunning leadership to recognize mistakes made in the past and do a turnaround, and like this is like years in the making, this turnaround of making consumer friendly choices. And I think especially when you see them try to bump up the price of Xbox Live Gold or whatever it's called now, and those personalities come out and say, no, we knew this was a bad decision, we felt bad about it on the day and we decided to reverse it. Having that sort of personality there, I think it speaks volumes, and you can really see sort of the humanity behind the corporation. So leadership matters, but not only that, but the team of people matter as well.
Yeah, no, totally agree. All right, well, you mentioned ZeniMax in there, so that sort of brings us nicely on to our next news story. There's been some reports around Starfield, everyone's favorite game to speculate about. And by that I mean a lot of people have forgotten about it because they haven't said
Twitter
anything.
hasn't. Jeez.
Well, no, yeah, well, Twitter never forgets. I think that's very, very clear. But Yeah, so there was some latest Starfield rumors. I think it was Jason Schreier came out and basically said that apparently, Jeff Grubb basically said, Jeff Grubb, basically said that according to his sources, they're going to be showing it at the E3 event, but the release date's not going to be till 2022, which is like, whew, okay. So for those who don't know, Starfield is the next game from Bethesda Studios, the same guys who do Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series. And it's been a fair while since they've put out a game, at least like a big mainline game. I think because they did 76, right?
They did Doom Eternal as well. Technically, it is a subsidiary of Bethesda.
That is true. Although it's not necessarily the same studio, but
under the same banner, though.
Id, right? Yeah. Same, but yeah, true. But so I remember at the they showed off a quick really quick teaser trailer about Starfield, and then straight afterwards they showed like a screen that said Elder Scrolls 6 and then didn't say anything else about it. Just basically, I think it was just for them to say, yeah, stop fucking asking us if we're doing Elder Scrolls 6. Of course we're doing Elder Scrolls 6. We love money. Did you see how many versions we sold of Skyrim? We weren't just going to be like, nah, we're good. Like, come on.
Elder Scrolls 6 releasing to your Samsung fridge first.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it though? Bethesda conferences are always the best thing to watch as well, because it's like there's so much anticipation going into them, and then it's just you getting hyped for a trailer of a trailer, and it's just like the strangest thing ever. And then they're always like, I know there's always like you get these compilations from E3s, like cringe compilations or whatever, like which is in and of itself like I don't really care too much, but like you kind of get like the two main conferences that always show up in that are EA and Bethesda. And that's just because Bethesda goes so off the wall, like, because they have to justify like some of the like scummiest things they've done. like I think like I'm just happy to see that there's news about something from Bethesda that isn't a mobile game or like a re-release.
I was just about to say, they'll talk about what was it, Elder Scrolls Rogues or whatever the fuck that mobile
and Fallout Shelter as well, and yeah.
Oh yeah, and then 76. We're putting NPCs in the game. God, I just Man, yeah. They had a bit of a rough run. Yeah. But so, Cameron, you said there was something about Tom Cruise with this as well?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, Adrian is just messing with me. Alright, going back to it. Sorry, I'm just completely been thrown off track. I was going to say before, too, it's funny the amount of people that are saying 2021 because of the fact that Microsoft originally bought... marketing around it to show this. I think it was just TV marketing, that kind of stuff. But then, like, it's not surprising about 2022 because of the fact that COVID happened. Like, a lot of projects are going to be delayed at least a year.
Yeah, we've definitely seen those knock-on effects. I mean, it's been pretty quiet over this last. I mean, we had Resident Evil, and we had Mass Effect, and that's
Outriders.
That's kind of all I'm. In terms of obviously the indie space is always going because people got to release games to make so they can eat. Whereas the AAA development space really seems like it's been thrown for a loop. Yeah. And I'd be interested to see what comes out of E3 just in general, like even what they talk about, what they don't talk about. Like, are we going to see? Are we going to see? I don't know. Like what? Because you've got from Bethesda, you've still got Deathloop and Tokyo Ghostwire or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but those all got pushed, right?
That's going to be interesting how that feeds into E3 too, because of the fact that Bethesda and Microsoft are doing a conference together now.
Yeah, so they're going to, I guess, like an extra long conference. I don't know.
So I'm wondering with Deathloop and that whether they just feed it straight into Sony's conference and there's some kind of backdoor agreement there.
Well,
or if Bethesda actually showcases it during theirs and says, "Go play this on PlayStation" at the end, or it's weird, yeah. They would have to do something on Sony's stage. A
little bit weird. Well, I guess they're timed exclusives, right? Is the talk is that it's going to be like a year exclusivity on the PlayStation and then come out for Xbox and PC?
Does Microsoft show them then and say?
Yeah, it does seem kind of weird that they'd show them. I guess. Yeah. Can you imagine Microsoft coming out being like, Tokyo Ghostwire and Deathloop coming out in 2022 for the Xbox, and they just don't mention that it's coming to the PlayStation at all. They're just like, it's like, that's the first time you'll ever be able to play it. Don't worry about it.
Just a big redacted on screen beside the PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. They just put a big X through the logo. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, going back to the Tom Cruise. So already talked about Microsoft buying up ad space for Starfield. Take this with the biggest grain of salt ever. Like, just put the table salt next to the story, yeah?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
Tom Cruise may be involved in the game, but he's probably not.
Okay, so that's...
So essentially this comes from...
That's clickbait if I've ever fucking heard it.
Yeah. So essentially this comes from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, where 3 supposed Starfield insiders claim that the master of the 90-degree angled arm run has been hired by Bethesda. Proof? Apparently, all links back to a 2018 tweet where Bethesda reached out to the ruiner of Oprah's couch. I love this article. Hey, at Tom Cruise, we're huge fans, Bethesda wrote. Loved your take on Oblivion, now Fallout. Want to get a head start on our next thing.
Alright, I mean, hey, like Tom Cruise wouldn't be the worst weird character to have in a game, I guess. Like, we've had Vin Diesel's the Wheelman, so it can only be uphill from there.
I just hope Keanu Reeves it.
He's in Arc 2 as well, isn't he?
Oh, Vin Diesel, yeah, he
which I think is so funny, man.
It's so weird.
There's just on the Starfield thing quickly. I took down like a brief note before it. Like I read the article and I was just like, it's on Reddit, so it's probably fake. And honestly, it most likely
absolutely
is.
Yeah, it's probably all bullshit. But hey, I like Tom Cruise as an actor, not so much as a human being, but I'm sure he'd be interesting. Again, we don't even know what the fuck this game is. Like what is this? We're talking about Starfield. We're like, oh yeah, that game, right? And it's like, is it a fucking game? I don't even know what it is.
Wasn't there a talk between Phil Spencer, Larry Herb, Aaron Greenberg, and Todd Howard this week? And basically, Phil Spencer asked him just like, oh, so yeah, what about Starfield? And he's like, well, for such a game that has shown no footage whatsoever, it's getting a lot of hype.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Todd Howard is fucking. He runs that studio anyway.
But apparently, like from what I'm hearing, like that's been a massive, like that's been his passion project for like years. That's ever since he's been involved in the company. This is the game that he's wanted to make. So,
I mean, great. But the thing is, like, we don't know anything about it. Like, is it first person? Is it third person? Like, I'm expecting that it's probably going to run on like the Gamebryo engine, which it fucking shouldn't because they need to rework that thing. But I'm sure it'll be similar in scope and be like, oh, hey, apparently it's like hard sci-fi, so it's like not like Mass Effect aliens and like biotic powers and shit. It's like no, like fucking engineering and docking modules and all that sort of shit. But also with like guns or something. Again, like we don't know anything.
And we
saw a trailer of like and Tom Cruise apparently. So I mean, like I'm interested because I'm always interested in what Bethesda's up to because they're one of the one larger publishers who are willing to take slightly larger risks with their mainline franchises, right? Like you have your EAs and your Activisions are always they may put out some sort of smaller, more experimental stuff here and there, but their bread and butter is always going to be their sports titles and their Call of Duties. Whereas Bethesda's like. It's like, yeah, we'll put out another Doom, we'll put out Doom 2016, and we haven't done a Doom game since 3, so we'll just try it and see if it works. If people like it, and it was fucking incredible. Doom Eternal's still pretty good as well.
I'll be interested to see what they actually show at E3, whether it's Doom 3 or Wolfenstein 3. Because Wolfenstein 3's got to be coming up soon, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's got to be, right? You got to fight Mecha Hitler at some stage.
Yes.
It's that's the logical conclusion of that series. I mean, I don't know if I'll play it because they'll probably have some bullshit.
I can't imagine they'll show Doom 3, to be honest. Like, it's only like a year since Eternal released, so like they're still doing post content for it at the moment. So
we should probably say DLC
old Ancient Gods or whatever it was called.
Both of those are finished now at the moment, but they're just doing more patch levels and master levels and whatnot to be added in.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, Machine Games, I mean, we haven't heard what they're working on anyway, so, yeah, you're probably right.
Arcane's got the Vampire game or something that's coming out?
Well, because Arcane is still doing Deathloop, so once they finish that...
I think Machine Games are actually doing the Indiana Jones game.
Oh, that's right.
That would be nice to see.
I completely forgot because that's right. They just showed a trailer for a trailer.
Yeah.
For that. So the Indiana Jones one would be good to see actually. Yeah.
The thing with Starfield and that too is like, I'm kind of creeping over to the fence at the same time that they might do something like Fallout 4, and it's like, bam, here's the trailer for it. It's coming later,
and it comes out this year.
Yeah.
Well, I think that would probably be the smart move, but I just don't know if they're gonna like. I think that's what my gut tells me that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm sure that was the plan, but I'm sure that was the plan in December 2019.
Yeah.
Before all this shit happened, and then they were like, "Oh, well, guess what? Like, who the fuck knows? It comes out when when we can finally get this shit done." So I don't know. I mean, like, I'd be interested. Like, we're not going to see like another Dishonored, I wouldn't think, or anything like that, because Arcane's busy with that, and Tokyo Ghost. So Tango Games are going to be busy with Ghostwire. So, like, in terms of like new stuff that we've never seen before, like maybe we see something from id, maybe, but outside of that, like I can't maybe Machine Games with Wolfenstein 3, and then hopefully Indiana Jones, but and then we'll see whatever the next expansion is for Elder Scrolls Online, because they always trot that shit out. But I don't know. I mean, it'll be very I think it might be a slightly more muted E3 in terms of announcements, because I think they're probably a little cagey about like. There's not really a lot of point in announcing something that's not coming out for 2 years, because like they've already done that. They did that with 2 games, and we haven't heard anything about either of them. So, and then on the Microsoft front for E3, I mean, Halo Infinite's obviously going to have to be there, right? That's I mean, like they have to show something.
Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5,
Fable,
maybe,
I guess.
Age of Empires 4. Not that anybody other than me cares.
Yeah, no. So that would just probably that'll be in a montage. I'm like, sorry, mate.
That's my nostalgia right there. That's the thing.
RTS is dead. Like, I love RTS, but that shit is well dead.
Psychonauts 2 should be there.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. Actually, Psychonauts 2 definitely should be there. Fucking
Is there a new Fable game they're working on as well?
Yeah,
so Playground Games, there are other teams working on Fable, but they showed that like teaser trailer for it. So
I'm
last
pretty
year,
sure Playground's still hiring for Fable.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a this year release. So hopefully they'll have more to say about it, because it was just like, hey, here's a fairy getting eaten by a frog, and that was kind of the trailer.
I'm still psyched for that.
What's the Obsidian game they're working on? Is it Avowed?
Avowed, yeah. So the one that's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, but is like Skyrim.
They're working on multiple projects, though, aren't they? Obsidian.
Well, that's their main one that they're working on. They had they're also doing Grounded, but that's obviously that's their small like development team doing because that's an early access still.
I can't remember if it was Obsidian or if it was. I might be getting Bethesda confused with Microsoft and. Trying to think if it was Obsidian or if it was the guys that do Gears of War. The Coalition, sorry. Took me a second.
Coalition
Don't
aren't
have the
working
second
on anything.
team. There's one that has a smaller team of like 20 that are working on another project.
that's Obsidian, so they're the ones working on Grounded.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was their like 18
I wonder,
people being like...
Will Grounded reach 1.0 then this year?
Probably, actually. Yeah, that's probably something they'll probably talk about as well, because I mean it's been going relatively well for them, it looks like, although the hype's died down. Which is, I don't know, like, do you guys get into early access games at all? Or are you guys more in the...
Yeah, well, We Happy Few is the last one I looked at. Which I think since release, I think is... I don't know, I don't think it's very much a fantastic game. It's alright, like, but yeah.
I mean, it changed a lot after they patched it, right? Because they made it more narrative focused and less of a open world survival game, which was what people wanted. But it's like,
I think for me it depends how together the game is. I mean, I got Fights in Tight Spaces, which is, if you've played John Wick Hex, is a very similar sort of strategy combat thing, but they've got like decks of cards that you can use, so they've kind of changed how the fights work. And I got that kind of an early access, but everything works in that game. There's not like content that is missing. Like it seems pretty together. Like it felt like a release when it came out, so I got it. A lot of games, if they look too bare on early release, it's like I'm not really interested.
fair. Yeah, that's kind of been
It's
outside of what, like Subverse, which I thought was hilarious. But I can't even make that joke because we fucking edited that bit out. Anyway,
there's games though like Sea of Thieves though that I think should have launched in early access.
I mean, their game basically did.
Yeah.
I think there was a thing in all but name, right, in terms of the amount of content that was available for it when it came out. It's just sort of grown and grown. But that's, I guess, we get into the discussion about live service games and, what is a release when a game comes out. And
whether it's subjective just to the studio or whether...
Yeah. But I'm hoping that, because, we talked about how Microsoft bought all those studios over the last couple of years just because they needed those exclusives. And I'm sure that this was supposed to be the year, right? You have a new console, you've got all these studios working on those games, and obviously they've had access to the hardware before anyone else because they're internal studios. And 2021 was supposed to be the year, and I don't know if it's going to be honest. Yeah. I'll be very curious to see what gets pushed, what actually gets announced. Because it seems like it might be a bit dicey to announce anything at this point that's entering pre-production or is, relatively early on in development to even say, oh yeah, it's coming out. And you're like, when? It's like, fuck knows. But it will be at some stage. Yeah. Maybe.
But there's a lot of games coming. I mean, Rare's doing Everwild. There's loads of titles out there, but you don't know what they are. Like, we haven't seen gameplay yet. They can have a cool style in a cinematic trailer, but until we see gameplay, it's like, we don't know what these games are. We don't know when they're coming out, but there's loads of games coming sometime.
It will...
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how much of indies take a focus this year as well.
Yeah, probably the smart move. Sony's been really courting the indies over the last generation with, they did a lot of work with them, but Microsoft have been pulling back on that, especially with Game Pass being that really great avenue for them to not only launch into but also advertise using. It's one of those things where you can say, hey, we're on Game Pass, or we get featured in the Game Pass app and that sort of stuff, and it's like it gets us out of the crush of all the releases.
Like I want to see some more stuff like 12 minutes.
Yeah, that I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
They just released a trailer for that this week, I think. Actually, they showed one
cycle of it. Yeah.
Actually, there's I saw a really funny comment regarding 12 minutes because I think IGN put up like a 6-minute playthrough or something, and it's like the top comment is like, "Oh, how bad of IGN to spoil half the game without letting anyone know."
Yeah,
great.
Exactly right. How dare they? All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up for the news, unless you guys have any other comments or any thoughts about E3 and the sort of stuff coming up.
Just excited to see Halo and what else there is out there.
See if Craig's still in the trailer.
Exactly. I'm just generally happy to see E3 going ahead again because, like, I think there was a load of talk before COVID hit about, like, is E3 a viable option for studios in the future? And I think the 1 year we haven't had it, I think, has shown that there is still an appetite for E3. Like, it's not the same seeing, like, a trailer on Twitter and then, like, kind of seeing all the reactions. Like, I live for sort of, like, watching those old reaction videos of, like, people in the actual E3 arena reacting to something, like, especially with games like Halo or even, like something, like, as old as, like, Left 4 Dead 2 when it was announced and whatnot. So, like, there's so, like, I know it's going to be digital this year, but I can't wait for them to, like, go back to in-person conferences again and do stuff like that again because it's so sorely needed.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see what form it takes next year because, like they had last year, which obviously didn't happen, and then this year is going to be all digital. So that's we'll sort of see what kind of conference it's like because we did miss out on it completely. And then how do they come back to form next year, or do they come back? I mean, they say they are, but again, the ESA always say they're going to do a conference, and it has really been trailing off over the last few years. You're right, and there was a lot of discussion about this, do we need E3? And I don't know if we need it, but I think people like it.
Yeah. At the very least, as long as the companies are doing their Nintendo Directs and their videos like that, as long as we get something like that. But anyway, should we move on to what we've been playing?
All right, yeah, let's move on to that. Cameron, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. All right, so where to begin? I guess the ones from last week, Zombie Army 4, still doing a little bit of Horde with Alex. Not really much to say other than just it's good, mindless fun, like that typical Sniper Elite Zombie Army trilogy. Everything.
More of the same.
Yeah, more of the same, just feels good.
That's Game Pass, right?
Yeah, Game Pass. I mean, the only thing I can say bad is the season pass. What game needs free season pass?
Right.
Unless they want to just rob you blind, but yeah. Forza Horizon, I did some races with Smithy and Mean Machine on AHA Discord. Essentially just getting to level 25, so just helping Mean Machine starting from level 1. Pretty okay there. Rainbow Six Vegas. Had a session today, which... so essentially, going for the 16-player achievement. So being
Master of Ceremonies. Yep, I remember it.
Being a dedicated server, getting that done. So I was told earlier this week that the landlord is looking to sell my property. I love my property, but unfortunately they wanted to do an inspection. So they let me know that yesterday, which bangs right on in the middle of this game, of this boosting session. So, I had the TV behind me going with my account. I had the monitor here going with Nikita's account. I had 2 of them going, and I had probably 20 people, 30 people in the space of 10 to 15 minutes walking past me, watching me play on 2 consoles to get this one achievement.
The dark underbelly of achievement boosting revealed for all to see.
At the same time, Nikita's sitting next to me, and we're just making conversation, just like, oh, so, how's the area, that kind of stuff. Just like, oh, yeah, it's great. Like, I said, please be an investor. Like, if you buy this property, I'm happy to stay here for the next 5 years,
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
I'll keep you happy. But, yeah, that was just a very different experience that I never thought I would have to experience in my life, but nonetheless, funny. And then I did the typical stuff that we do in boosting sessions. We plugged the podcast. We let
Talk about the
everybody
podcast,
know.
yep. Just cram it in there just as naturally as possible. Yep.
Because you tell 16 people, I'll tell 16 and then it goes forth. Funnily enough, though, I met Silver today, which is a Australian achievement hunter. And she was telling me that, oh, yeah, like I see you guys on the Twitter. I've actually got you guys bookmarked. I'm just like, so you listen to us? And just like, no. Oh, but you got us bookmarked. Oh. Yeah. All right, cool. But
I think she just joined the Discord.
Yeah, she joined the Discord. I said, come on, we're all Aussies or New Zealanders or others. Come in, we'll do some boosting. But yeah, no, it was quite funny. Quite a funny boosting session, especially when I was just like, all right, I need to go and talk to the agent. I'll be right back.
Did you get the achievement?
Yeah, I got the achievement. Was going for a 3-hour session, and we managed to do it in like an hour and 20 minutes. And we were even nice enough to the guy that didn't show up to the session. We had enough people to actually get him online and get the achievement for him as well.
That's great.
So it was good.
That's good.
So yeah, that's that. The other one I've been playing for the majority of the week is Yakuza 3 Remastered. This game does not hold up. It looks like a PS2 game, but it has no doubt one of the best stories out of any of them. Funny that. Okay. So I'm, like I said last week, I'm skipping cutscenes and that because I want to go back and play them on Legend and watch the cutscenes and not have to worry about miscellaneous achievements. I just want a clear cut, story without having to watch YouTube.
I was going to say, on that stage, just fucking watch a YouTube video of it.
Yeah. No, I just want to play through...
What are you doing?
I just want to play through and experience the story and complete the games like that, yeah? So I ended up this week getting to a part where... Alright, you have to go to Tokyo, whatever reason. I don't know because I skip cutscenes. But then there was one cutscene that kept me really interested, and it's essentially you're following around this couple, and the woman's just a bit standoffish. So it's just like, oh, I bought you all this jewelry and all that. It's just like, oh, you go this way and I'll take them to the pawn shop. I mean, like, I'll take them back to the motel. It's like, oh, yeah, she's a gold digger. Like, half an hour of dialogue, she's an absolute gold digger. I want to follow where this goes. I want to see where we get to. Anyway, so we follow the couple of rounds of 3 different spots. Get down to the beach where they're having a bit of an argument. And we're just like, oh, what's the go? And essentially there's these different dialogue options to kind of like side with him or side with her to what's causing this lover's biff. To which point, after all of this, she drops the amazing, just only would happen in Yakuza or any Japanese games, that they're actually brother and sister, and you can't go through the marriage because she's just recently found out that they're related.
Oh my fucking god. Okay.
And
right, wow.
the end of that chapter ends of like, alright, cool, so everything's fine now. We can just go on this holiday together, not as a honeymoon, but as brother and sister and have a good time.
Oh man, why Japan? Why do you do this to me? Are they? It doesn't matter, but yeah. Right.
So at the same time, you're running a bloody orphanage. Explain this to 10-year-olds.
Yeah, again.
You just gotta assume it's wholesome.
Yeah, you have to, right? Otherwise, like, what are you doing, right? Fuck me.
It's
okay,
such a from going from Kiwami to where it's just like, oh, you know, fight everybody and all this kind of stuff, and then going to like, oh, essentially, I'm running an orphanage for 10. Well, I am running an orphanage for like 9 or 10 kids, and then at the same time, I'm going into town and beating people up. It's just a very different feel.
Tonally, the Yakuza games are all over the fucking place. Like but they ride the line pretty well though for the most part, right? Like they know what they are.
Yeah, it just like with the outfitters too. It's just like, all right, I look like I'm on a Hawaiian vacation, but realistically, I'm taking care of these kids.
Mm-hmm. But also gonna beat some fools. Yeah.
But also, I'm just.
So you're enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's quite good. I haven't gone back to it the last few days just because I've been busy with other stuff, but the first time I played it, the first few cutscenes you can't actually skip. You actually have to get to the first gameplay and then turn it off. And I was like, I don't want to ruin my experience. But once I actually turn it off, everything's starting to feel a lot more gameplay focused again, which is good. So yeah, that was that. The last two I want to talk about with, which I actually got review codes for and did a little bit of streaming this week if you want to check it out, was Dark Knights with Poe and Monroe. Which are those...
This I'm very interested in.
Yeah, which those that are aware of, it's essentially taking two of the characters out of the shape-shifting detective. I don't know if they tie back to Dr. Decker at all.
No, they're only in Shapeshifting Detective, but they're two of the most interesting characters because they just kind of they're two radio hosts who have a weird, some very weird sexual chemistry stuff going. It's very unusual.
They're basically he's cheating on his wife.
Yeah,
So it's
very strange.
But then at the same time, there is one of the episodes that does tie back to Dr. Decker.
Really? Oh, well, okay. Yes,
I won't spoil it, but
right?
like it does tie them together a bit. This game is weird as fuck.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
So is it weirder than a character who can change their face to look like all the other characters and trick people into telling them secrets, or weirder than the chick who reckoned that she was possessed by Cthulhu and dragged people down into the ocean as a siren?
I'm just trying to think. I want to say no, but there's going to be something in there that just catches me.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm going to play it. Like I love these FMV games and that sort of
like
stuff. I'm assuming it's the same sort of style.
It's like essentially 6 mini episodes of like the radio show for that night. Like there's one where they solve a kidnapping. There's one where Caller calls in saying that he's going to murder him. There's one where they're put on a trance. There's one where I don't want to spoil that one. They do a 24-hour show, and they start having really disturbing dreams about killing each other.
Oh, okay. So, like, but in terms of the game itself, like, what is it? Is it just like the sort of standard FMV?
Yeah, I'd say standard FMV, like a anthology of their kind of stories, like using these two characters to paint that. And I like the FMV style. I fell in love with it ever since I played Late Shift. Wales Interactive does a really good job, in my opinion. But yeah, I left it at episode 4 just because I was been playing for a few hours. I need to go back to finish 5 and 6. I think the achievements should be fairly alright, because you can just pick the episode as you're going along. But yeah, I think they did a really good job, and I do want to get back into it. Saying that, last game of the week, probably my absolute favourite, Aerial Knight Never Yield. So, also got a review code for this one. Essentially, it is... the comparison I keep on putting it to is My Friend is Pedro without the guns. Just, My Friend is Pedro, bare basics, just speedrunner, try and get through the map as quickly as possible.
Oh, okay.
I loved it so much that I ended up just doing most of the game on stream. 2 of the achievements... people are saying it are unobtainable. I don't know if they 100% are, but there is a glitch that if you get a coin in one of the levels, it takes you to a bonus level at the end of it. If you die in that bonus level, you end up getting taken back to like level 1. It's either level 1 or the previous level. There's a few levels that look the same. Essentially, I think it would be obtainable if you could get through that bonus level without, if you're just getting checkpoints and that. But because you're getting taken back, you basically have to do 4 minutes of gameplay, pretty much get the coin, give another attempt at it, probably one of the hardest levels in the game, die, go back, do another 4 minutes. And from what I've seen,
came out really recently, I assume.
Yeah, it released 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so
people still
very new release. The developer's already aware of it. Like Aerial Knight is his Twitter handle, but already on top of it, he's gonna get a patch organized. So I think that one of the achievements is an obtainable achievement, and the bonus level will give you a outfit, which is to unlock all outfits. So as soon as you get that, it's essentially complete. But I got 800 out of 1,000 for it. Saying that, music in this game is bloody phenomenal. Like, it just has a lot of atmosphere, a lot of fun.
What kind of soundtrack is it?
It mixes it up. Like, there's, like... I don't want to say, like, proper song. Like, there's, like, more gaming background kind of music in some levels.
Ambient,
and then there's like that ambience kind of level, and then there's certain levels where it's just like proper, full soundtracks, vocals and all that. Boss fights, like I don't understand what's going on in terms of story, but the gameplay was very addictive.
Skipping all the cutscenes, I assume.
Funnily enough, there are 2 achievements in that game for chapter 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, which if you skip the cutscene, it doesn't give you the achievement. So you...
Wow, okay. Wow,
cutscene's like 10 seconds, so it's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's still not great.
I made sure to watch the cutscenes and to not understand the story, and yeah.
So what does that put you at for the week, roughly?
1385.
1385 is not bad.
I mean, I'm trying to get through the Yakuza game, so that's...
Yeah, it's going to
most
slow your
the
ass
slow
down.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Connor, what have you been playing?
Well, since I've been currently finishing like my final assessments for uni, is every time I get a break, I go on the Xbox. I'm playing Resident Evil Village at the moment. So I'm on New Game Plus. I'm on the hardest difficulty, the Village of Shadows difficulty that you have to get in the DLC of the Trauma Pack. And you can buy kind of New Game Plus things. So I've got like infinite ammo on a few guns, and you basically have to if you're going on Village of Shadows, because it's brutal. Like 2 hits and you're dead. And
unfair, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many enemies. It's really fun. Like the challenge is really fun, and having infinite ammo for a few of the guns is fantastic. But that game is like, I don't know, it's so good. I love it.
So it's been on my list of maybe I'll break my vow and actually buy the fucking game, because everyone's been talking about it, and I've just been like, I'm getting the FOMO. Like, it's real bad. I'm just like, oh man, like I really enjoyed Resident Evil 7, and like 8 sounds really good, and also like really campy and cheesy, and like I just kind of want to play the shit out of it. And apparently the achievement list is pretty good, so
yeah, I've got a lot of them. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like, if 7 was more horror, and 7's on Game Pass, like we recently talked about it on the podcast. That's to be uploaded very soon. Like 8 just takes it into like a whole another level of like action and open world, and it is like, don't know, it's my game of the year so far. I'm so happy that this released like away from Halo and everything, because it's just like the game I needed right now.
For sure. Anything else?
I mean, as soon as I finish my degree, I mean, I'm playing through Yakuza's, so I've played Yakuza 0. I'm playing Yakuza Kiwami. I've got Resident Evil 2 Remake to finish. So yeah, I'll be getting through other Resident Evils and Yakuzas.
Nice.
All right, I'll quickly run through what I've been playing. What have I got? Swim Sanity. So we recorded early last week, so I didn't get a chance to talk about too much more about it. But we finally got everything done with it. We actually completely smashed the last 2 maps. That game's fucking terrible. It's just an absolute mess of a game. But you know, it was the friends you made along the way, right? But the game itself was just an excuse to shoot fish.
It came at a great price of free, so it's fine.
It was free. It was games with gold, and that was the exact right amount that it was worth. But yeah, we put like 3 hours aside to go through it, and we smashed it in like 50 minutes. So we were really impressed with that. So that went really well. So then we decided to help me. They were kind enough to help me finish up Iron Brigade, the last achievement I had for that. It's been sitting there since apparently February 2014, so it's been a while. So I finally got the last achievement for surviving 30 waves in the survival mode, in which we absolutely smashed that as well. But we couldn't find a third game to do a trifecta, so we're going to have to try and come up with something new to play. Because I'm getting through a lot of my boosts and a lot of my grinds, so I'm going to have to actually find new stuff to play, which is weird for me.
We'll do Strange Brigade at one point. Just
Strange Brigade.
This is the call to arms at the moment that those two need to actually jump on.
Yes,
but
yes,
it won't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's maybe we'll hit them up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've also been playing Fogs with one Audrey Lilly, who I believe is in the chat, and having a fantastic time. That game is great. I love that game. It is so unpretentious. It's just cute and hilarious, and like it's really simple in a way that I really, really enjoy. It's the kind of thing where it's like I've got a guide up. I've got the guide for the collectibles, but we're just kind of going through and solving the puzzles and having a good time and just laughing at the ridiculous shit. And like we're about a third of the way through it. Yeah. So yeah, we got to a part where actually we need to go back to this level, Charlotte, because we missed an achievement. Where there's a giant rainbow-colored octopus sitting in like chocolate soup, but it's also a chef, so it's making the soup that it's sitting in. So you have to like go and like there's like a banana, and so you for those who don't know, you're a dog. You're like it's like the show Cat Dog, except you're a dog on both ends of like a body with no limbs, and so you have to both move in the same direction, otherwise you don't get
it's
anywhere.
Human Fall Flat meets Cat Dog. Or dog.
Kind of, yeah.
Like I said last week.
And then so there's like you have to like cut up a banana. So you get on one of those two people saws, like you'd saw down a tree with, and so you have to like tilt back and forth to cut the banana into slices so it slides down and goes into the soup, and then like put like marshmallows in it and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, it was just the imagery is very weird. Like whoever came up with this idea of like obviously was a big fan of probably like a big Katamari fan. Like they had a lot of that. It's a lot of weird surrealist shit. But having a great time with it. We got through the food world. I think we're going to head over to. I think it's like there's like 3 worlds. I think it's like a night, like a weird dreams world, and then one other one that I haven't seen yet. But I think it's like an 8 to 10 hour completion. I'm looking forward to doing more of it. So I'll probably just smash through a bit of that. But highly recommend it. It's on Game Pass, so definitely jump on it if you haven't.
So
really, really good co-op game.
Question I have with that too, because I didn't realize how much the retail price of it. It's $37.50.
Yeah, that's a little high.
Would you pay that for?
Probably not. I mean, like it's the kind of thing that I would probably get on a good sale normally. You know, if it was like 75% off, I'd grab it or something like that. But like in Game Pass, it's another perfect Game Pass game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audrey said
Charlotte
20.
says, yeah, maybe $20.
I think that would be a good price for this. Like, it is a great game. Like, I played half an hour of it today just to experience a bit, but I can't see myself playing close to 40 for it.
No, it's probably a bit much. But yeah, so that's kind of my ongoing game with that. I did all of Final Fantasy VII, working through my Final Fantasy collection. Yeah, that game's okay. I know that people fucking love that game because it's a lot of people's first Final Fantasy in terms of, it was the first one on the PlayStation after they moved over from Nintendo, and people absolutely love that game. Playing through it now, it's not bad, but I think the later ones, I think they get 8. I don't think it's better than. I think it's better than 8, but I don't think it's better than 9. I think 9's probably a better game in terms of mechanics and story. It's I enjoyed it. It definitely helps that it's got that the Xbox version comes with the ×3 speed and all that sort of the extra, and you can turn off encounters if you don't have to deal with enemies every 5 steps, because the game has not aged super well. The Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9 are kind of the reworked versions that have visual updates and stuff like that, so they look a lot nicer, whereas 7 it's still just 7, so you get those very polygonal, I think it's the PC version, so you get some detail, but it's a lot of that flat surfaces that you're running along, fixed images, and you just kind of have to get from point A to point B, and it doesn't feel very alive. I know it's early PlayStation 1 and it's historic, and it's I don't want to bag on it for being a game from 1997, right? It's it is what it is. But I just wasn't hugely inspired by it. I didn't really like a lot of the characters. The story was kind of confusing and not super well told. And the side quest stuff at the end of the game was just kind of boring, to be honest. But on the other side, I've also been playing Final Fantasy X, which is the Final Fantasy I Future nostalgia for, and I was wondering if it was going to be you have the nostalgia goggles on, you go back and play it, and you're wow, this was fucking terrible, and I don't know how I liked this as a child. But no, Final Fantasy X I think might be the greatest game ever made. I think it's definitely the best Final Fantasy ever. I like 12 before you say anything, Cameron. 12 is probably my second favorite, but 10 is an absolute masterpiece.
I was gonna say, do I count 10 and 10-2 as the same game?
No, okay. We don't talk about 10-2. We don't talk 10-2. 10-2 is look, the guy just wanted to see his hot chicks dressed up in weird fucking costumes. Okay, that's his problem.
I think my earliest memory of PS2 was playing 10.
Yeah, so because it was 2001. It was really early in the when the PlayStation came out, and it just absolutely changed the way I saw video games. And it's going back to it and playing through it again. I'm just re-experiencing all of that. It still looks really good. Obviously, they've redone some work to it to make the UI look better and the characters look slightly better than the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. But you still see all the costumes and stuff are all sort of flat textures and things like that. The characters, the non-important characters, don't even have the inside of their mouths rendered. It's just a flat texture opening and closing, changing between open and close when they're talking. And like sometimes like the voice matching doesn't match up as well as it would because obviously it was originally in Japanese. So like I get it. Like it's a 20-year-old game at this point. But the story is still the best Final Fantasy story they've ever done. The characters are still the most interesting. The gameplay has that classic turn-based combat. I fucking hate active time battle systems. I just like being able to take my time, not have to deal with any of that, and just attack things in order. I like the Aeon system. So I started that. I mentioned it very briefly that like I did like the first got to like the first save point last week. I have now put 35 hours into this over the last week. I've just finished the Zanarkand part, and I'm doing these sort of optional side quests before we get into like the final big bad at the end. Obviously, I don't want to spoil it because some people haven't played it, even though it's 20 years old. But the narrative is really the big draw for that game. So I'm now doing the Pokemon quest of going around and killing, capturing every enemy 10 times, which is a real it's a little bit of a pain because obviously it's a random battle system, so you just get whatever they throw at you. So, but I'm most of the way through that, and I'm sort of grinding out all the side quests and getting all the ultimate weapons for everyone, and all of the the secret summons and all that shit, like everything. I'm rinsing the game because you have to do everything in it pretty much anyway. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is having to fill out the sphere grid for every single character. That is going to take a long time. I really could have done without that achievement in it, but we'll see. And it's been really nice actually because Alison has she's not super familiar with Final Fantasy, so she's been sitting here watching. So I've been playing it while she's been home, so she can watch the story and sort of figure out what's going on at the time. And you've been enjoying it.
Enjoy is a strong word.
I mean, enjoy is a strong word. That's why I said it. I'm sorry. Let me re-ask you. Have you been enjoying the best game ever made?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure she said best game ever made.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said that she's having a great time, and she's really lucky that I decided to not just blitz through the whole game while she wasn't here, so she could experience it with me.
Oh, yeah.
Alison, it's okay. PG Masks and Peppa Pig come out in October.
But yeah, like obviously, like I have such a love for this game, and it's so incredible, and I'm just having such a great time going through it again. I'm sure I will get fucking sick of it once I've been grinding it for the next 20 hours trying to get those last few achievements. Like I'm sure that'll sour it a little bit, but we'll move on to 10.2 and then I'll come back to do that later. So, I guess because they're part of the same achievement list, unfortunately.
I've got a few questions.
Go for it.
First one is how cringe is the laugh scene? Going back to it. If you
man, it's actually, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I remembered. That laugh scene is pretty rough, but like it wasn't as bad. I was like, actually, cause we were talking about how it like gets super memed on.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, it was alright. It was alright. It was the voice acting is still pretty good, but it is still early PS2 voice acting, so there are some. It's inconsistent.
How is the language achievement? Trying to think what the
you're getting all the Albed primers.
Yeah. So the major thing that puts me off from starting this, I probably will go and play a few Final Fantasy titles next year, is that achievement, because I'm very much a person that doesn't want to use a guide.
Oh well, that's the thing, is that like this game has so much missable stuff and things that like you can fuck yourself over if you're not careful. That like when I played this game originally, I had the strategy guide, like the physical one that I bought because it had all that beautiful art, and I was just obsessed with this stuff. And you need it. Like, there's a really good guide that I've been following that just has like, hey, here's the primer, like here's the point on the map. Just as you're going through, just make sure to don't miss this. It doesn't bog you down with any bullshit you don't need to do until you get to the end of the game. It's like, hey, wait, don't worry about this till you get your, at the end of the game, things open up. I won't spoil any more than that. So like it's like like most Final Fantasy games, it's a pretty linear story for the most part, right? Like they disguise it with some side stuff, but there is a really good guide that I'm following that I would just stick with. But most of the game is a straight line, and it's just you just fight the battles and grind up a bit and move around the sphere grid, and I mean it's a JRPG. You kind of know what you're getting into. It's not hugely innovative outside of its like the first one to have voice acting, the first one to have a lot of that 3D stuff and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's also the reason I'm playing it is because it just got added to Game Pass last week.
So you haven't done 12 yet, have you?
I have not.
All right.
12 is next on the list.
I'm going to call it now. You're going to finish Final Fantasy X, and then it's going to be leaving Game Pass.
12? 12 is probably going to be leaving Game Pass pretty soon. Yeah, you're right. Just based on timings, I think 7 will probably be leaving first, which is why I finished it already.
Yeah.
But 12 is definitely on the list. I don't know if we're going to have time to finish it because that is a very long game.
Yeah. 12?
But we'll see.
You say 12 is a long game? Or
12, yeah.
I didn't find it that bad, but I haven't done all the extra content. Yeah, so...
You get it? Oh, yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I never actually finished 12, to be fair.
12's a good game.
I never... Yeah, really, really enjoyed it as I played through it, but it was just kind of came out of the time on the PlayStation 2 where I was a bit... I was time poor.
Yeah.
And money poor, too. Anyway, so that's pretty much me for this week, and probably Final Fantasy X will probably be me for all of next week as well. So that's 2,185 achievements this week.
Nice job.
All right,
Johnson.
Oh yeah,
sorry. I completely forgot. Sorry, I was just so engrossed. I played 4 games this week. 2 which are indie titles and 2 which are I think the two big games that came out in the last week, anyways. And that's actually probably going to be a great segue for your guys' giveaway as well. I am a huge Mass Effect fan. Connor knows that I bang on about it to no end. It's one of the games that I think when I was in school, like before final exams, when like I think anyone when they're doing like their final school exams is in like a weird place where they're like, I don't want to do anything in life. Like I hate being here. So like Mass Effect was this unreal way to just get away from it all. And I remember binging them over the course of like a couple of weeks, and it was I think it was just before Andromeda came out, which we don't talk about, but
no, we don't.
So I've just been going through. It's just such a because I usually do like a yearly thing where I'll come back to Mass Effect because I love it so much. That and BioShock are two of my yearly replays. Although I still have to play 2 and Infinite, and I don't know why I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I haven't heard great things about 2. What I will say though is, with Mass Effect, it's so good to come back and be able to play 1 without feeling like it's such a slog. Because everything being updated so visually, and plus to put it in continuity with the third game as well, because they've updated the FemShep model and a couple of other visual changes as well. It just makes it so good. I know there was I think somebody was like mentioning like, oh, this is like the perfect way to Michael Bay a game because it's just lens flare after lens flare. And I do I kind of get that criticism a little bit. I think anyone who's familiar with the original Eden Prime mission on Mass Effect 1 will kind of be like, where's all the red ambience gone? Which I can see is a fair criticism, but I was just going through like ogling at everything. It's like, I can't believe this looks the way it does. Like I'm so happy to be playing this again. So I'll probably gush over it even more once I get on to 2, and then probably less so, but still to a greater extent when I get to 3.
I played... 2 is so good. 2 is such an amazing
Have
game.
you touched the originals, or?
No, I played all the originals.
So how do you think 1 holds up compared to... they reworked the vehicle, didn't they? That's the one thing.
The Mako. Yeah, they have reworked that. And honestly, some people have like sort of a weird nostalgia for the way it handles in the first game. It's so floaty and bouncy and everything, and it's got that very much like that. Programmers didn't really know what to do if you flipped your vehicle over, so there was no possible. It's like the equivalent of like a van shoe. Like it'll never land upside down. And I think in terms of the way the first game holds up, it's like the best comparison I can think of is like when people want to, like, I don't know, binge Star Wars again. They're like, oh, do we have to watch The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? Yes, you do, but like it'll be worth it in the end. And that's not to say, I think 1 excels in story, 2 excels in character development, and 3 overall I think is just a great like sort of set piece and has the best combat and whatnot. And also it's a pretty good multiplayer that is kind of really underrated, I think, in the gaming scene. But yeah, no, it's just so good to be able to come back to that series again, especially on updated graphics.
It's a real shame that Andromeda couldn't just bring all 3 of those things together to make one good game. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate because Andromeda, for the most part, I think has really good mechanics with regards to movement and gunplay. It's just that the story is really lacking, and there's some obvious problems with the facial textures and whatnot, and there's a load of other stuff you can get into on it. But
some technical stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but it's great to have this sort of rebooted edition, and there's been like a couple of minor changes, nothing too major that people will give out about, I don't think. Well, at least normal people will give out about. I will say, I just to finish off. I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to the next game in a second, but I really love Mass Effect, and it's great to be able to come back to something that played such a pivotal role in my sort of development with games again. Following on from that, I kind of, not that I was pressured, but Connor had recommended I play Village a lot, because we had been doing RE7 for the podcast, and anyone who knows, I absolutely hate horror. It's never been my go-to genre. I get scared at the easiest things, and I learned that pretty quickly with RE7 because Connor, I don't know, sadistically asked if I do like a let's play of it. So I just had my camera in the top corner for like the first like hour or two. I was just like constantly like tensing up, like waiting for something to jump out at me. 8 completely is on another level. Like it's not scary at all, I wouldn't say. There's maybe 1 or 2 points where you'll get a jump scare, but like that's about it. There's one particularly horrifying section when you go to Annabelle's house, and I'm not going to spoil it, although people probably who have played the game will know what I'm on about. That's probably, I think, the highlight of that game for me. I've I've heard a lot of people say it's too linear, and the puzzles are a little bit dumbed down for, you know, what we expect in a Resident Evil title. And I think that's fair criticism to a certain extent. I think there's some puzzles that are just blatantly like, you know, a toddler could figure them out. But I mean, for someone who's as dumb as a bag of bricks when it comes to puzzles and games, I was delighted to see I could just rush through them. And I think where this game excels is gunplay. I think it's so much fun to be able to feel that level of progression as you go through a game. And RE7 does this really well as well. But Village has, I think, the main draw factor to it is the aesthetic it pulls off, because it's got this almost classic 90s shooter inspired sort of like 4 different sort of aesthetics blended into one to create this really strange, messed up little universe.
The way I've heard it described is it feels like a best of hits of Resident Evils, where they're just like, we'll just take a bit of like Resident Evil 4 and some 5, and we just chuck in some 1 mansion stuff, and we'll just throw it all together and see what happens. Yeah, no,
it's so good. It's very much it's either you love it or hate it game. I think I don't think there's going to be many people in the middle about it. But no, it was a nice release, and I remember giving out to Connor, not giving out, but like saying, because I really didn't like Outriders at all. I'm not a fan of that looter shooter genre and everything that pertains to it. But Connor was, we were like joking. It was like, there's nothing coming out. The only reason people are playing Outriders is because like the only new thing to come out, and now it's this week, and it's like, oh no, there's like 2 things I have to get through now, like, and one is like a huge like 3 games to go through. Following on from that, then, these are 2 PC games now, but I think they're well worth mentioning. I want to give a quick shout out to the studio that made the first one I'm going to talk about, because it's an Irish-based studio, Spooky Doorway. They create the Dark Side Detective series, which is like this point-and-click pixel adventure where you're pretty much taking control of like these 2 characters who are... one is a detective who's like... he has a pathway into a different dimension in which he can solve paranormal crimes. Very much sort of like X-Files mixed with like, you know, your average like Sunday crime drama show. And it's got some really good humor and whatnot. I think very distinctly Irish humor as well. So I don't know if that's just me having such a soft spot for it, but I've from what I've heard of other people, especially in the indie scene, indie horror, it's not too horrifying anyways. It's much more of a comedy. But what I've heard is that, you know, it breaks through those barriers anyways, and people have been enjoying it. So, yeah, and I've been really enjoying that. And then finally, the last one I looked at was the 3rd entry in a series that I've been kind of... that I was exposed to maybe a couple of months ago. Emily is Away is the name of it. It's this text-based narrative adventure sort of set on the... Well, originally the old games were set on the old AIMS messaging service. It was like, you know, chatting with friends or whatever, and it kind of creates that weird nostalgic element of like chatting with your friends after school on like Facebook or whatnot. And
I remember playing this. Yes.
Yeah. And it's the 3rd title now brings us over into Facebook, or is, you know, for legal reasons, Face Nook. Which I think is such a ballsy move to just only take out like the B, and like I think the logo is fairly similar as well. So I don't know how they got past that, but. I have a kind of a soft spot for this series because it has such a great way of, despite giving you such limited options, making you feel like it makes you feel like you have a lot of control over what's going on, and then it kind of presents like really everyday life predicaments. It's like, oh, will I go to this person's like party or whatever? Because if I go to theirs and I don't go to this other person's, then they're going to be annoyed at me. And like, it's kind of like it's like not end of the world stuff like Mass Effect, but it's like it's in this kind of weird little like subsection of like. I almost feel like I'm like, if there's like not something dramatic going on in my life, Emily's Away will come on and I'll be like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this is just like unnecessary worrying about people who don't even exist. But no, I think it's a really good title. It's quite cheap as well. So, I mean, if you're interested in stuff like that, I'd say it's well worth the pickup as well.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's move on to the questions then. We've got a couple of questions in the chat here. One from Professor Pluto 1, former host of the Real Gamerscore podcast. Do you have a favorite achievement name? That's kind of a hard one, considering I just hit 55,000 achievements. 55,500 achievements, I should say. So I don't know if I have a specific one that I like, but I was looking through my list of ones that I've done recently. I just finished up Saints Row 4 on the PC, and one of the achievements was Saints and Sensibility for finishing the grand finale, which, for those who don't know, is revealed at the end of the game that the narrator for the whole game is Jane Austen. So I thought that was pretty good. I don't know. What about you, Cameron? You got any favorite achievement names you like?
I'm trying to find the list of my top achievements on. I'm trying to think of what that one in Sunset Overdrive is called. There's the 1 pointer one, and then there's 199.
Oh yeah, that's the troll one. Yeah.
There's that one.
I like the achievement names in Fogs, because a lot of them are, taking an F and just putting a PH there instead. So I got one that for finishing all the food worlds that was Forager. And then there was one that was Fog Overboard. Anyway, yeah. 4. There's one called 4 for getting a hole in one. Most of the ones I like are just terrible fucking puns. Actually, no, the one that I laughed at before was finishing Final Fantasy VII. You get an achievement called A Feat of Meteoric Proportions, which for those who have played the game will understand why that's funny. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Worst Job in the Kingdom and Fizzy Says April Fools were the ones I was thinking of.
I actually, I found one if you're interested in hearing it. I just thought I would look up something. I don't know if you're aware of the game Blitz the League 2. It's there's a very funny achievement. I'll read you the description first, and then I'll tell you what the name of it is, because if you like puns, you'll love this. So the achievement is to rupture 10 scrotums in any game mode, which, first of all, for an American football game, just to point that out, is the weirdest achievement to have, and it's titled Testicle, which I think it's very childish of me, I know, but I think just such a brilliant play of words.
That's great. I love it. Blitz the League's a fun one, because it's just like American football take it to the extreme. It's like, you gotta roid up your guys and all kinds of shit. It's fucking ridiculous.
I was going to say Golden Nester. Can you remember that one, Matt?
Golden Nester? No, I don't remember that one.
Final Fantasy 15 Comrades. Defeat Kenny Crow.
Fuck that achievement. That's not a funny achievement. That's a bullshit achievement. That's what it is. Getting Kenny Crow to show up.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. Yes, all right.
Let's see if there's any other funny one. I like ones that are references to popular fiction.
The recent one that made me smile was on Yakuza 0. Watch an erotic porn video at the store. Or not porn video, just an erotic video, and it says, "I did it for the achievement."
It's photography. Oh,
yeah. It's I think Lollipop Chainsaw has a similar achievement for trying to look up Juliet's skirt.
Same with Nier Automata, I believe.
Nier Automata, yeah. Also got another question from him saying, he said, Alex says, I like if they come to see me beg, and a Tom Clancy game had one for using a shotgun called I Just Like the Sound It Makes. Which is, fair.
Yeah.
And Charlotte says, Fat Fogs, which is, PHAT, Fogs, for eating all the food. Pitching a tent in Halo 4 for camping.
Yeah.
It's also a pretty good one. And then Alex also asked, why do I get so much shit for being Professor Pluto 1 on Twitch when apparently the first 2004 Neomaster names were taken? And I would just like to remind Professor Pluto that my gamertag was originally Neomaster 2005, but whoever had the original Neomaster one got booted off when they fixed all the Xbox Live stuff, so I stole it. So really, I'm the imposter, and that Neomaster 2005 is the original.
I mean, we could also ask him a question and say, you're here watching the show. Why can't you be on?
He's too good. He's too good for the show now. He's
open invitation, Professor Pluto next week. Yeah,
Professor Pluto 1.
I just got home.
Is invited. Yeah. All right. Whatever then.
He only joined in just to tell me, hey, Zombie Army.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I want to do some Zombie Armor 4 just to see if you were still doing the podcast. Also, let's see if there's any other questions.
I guess we should go to Isaac's question then, if we have.
Yeah, go to Isaac's questions for sure. That's a good one.
So Isaac wrote in, as you all can do. Hey guys, a while back, I saw on TA that people were popping achievements in the really old version of Wordament for Android. It seemed to be a fairly quick completion, so I started it. I got 3 achievements and had to put it down. Ever since then, I haven't been able to pop anything. A lot of people seem to have the same problem. Some people claim that there is a server reset at 9 PM ET, and the achievements are obtainable only at that time, but I've had no luck with that so far. What's the craziest or most annoying fix you've heard, or for getting glitched or broken achievements?
I mean, I have one for this straight away. It was Final Fantasy VIII, actually. I got to the end of the first disc, and the achievements just stopped popping. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I reset the game, tried again. And the game, they did say that some of the achievements can be buggy. So I thought, okay, well, I'll reset the game, fight the boss again, just redo it. No luck. Okay, try reload a different save, try fight the boss again. Nope. Turn off the console, fight the boss again. No. Okay. Fight the boss again, but kill them in a different order because it was 2 of them. Okay, go further in the story and then come back and try and get it. Nope, that didn't work. Looking on the guides, yeah, no, it's a common problem. Okay. One solution, all the way down the bottom of the forum thread. Change consoles. Download the game on another console and try it again. And I was like, are you fucking serious? So I pull out the old, because I'm running on the Series X at the time, and so I pull out the old Xbox One S, load it up on that, and I'm like, whatever, this is fucking ridiculous. Took forever to download it, play through. The achievements all started unlocking. It unlocked that achievement, and then started unlocking a bunch of other achievements that I had earned but hadn't realized I'd earned, like for getting a certain amount of kills and drawing a certain amount of magic that I just hadn't been popping. What the fuck? Like, how is that a solution? How is that even, like, I don't understand how that's even, like, possible. Like, it's the same fucking game. It's the same save file. It's the same profile. It's the same everything. It's just happening on a different console. Which is why I haven't done the Windows 10 version, because I'm like, I don't have another fucking laptop that I can just be like, I'll just boot it up on something else. So, yeah. So that's definitely my answer for that. Also, well, I mean, I also did the experience glitch for Far Cry 2, but that's not so much a glitch as it is just actually being able to get through it in less than 20 days. Which I highly recommend people look into if they're looking to get that game done. You still have to grind for ages, which I did. Thanks, one Mad Rocketansky for helping me out with that.
Can I tell you a funny story about that Far Cry 2?
Oh, do tell.
So I was in a nice old party with the AHA guys, and I'm going to call out several people here at once. And we're just like, yeah, we should get
here we go. Okay.
We should get around to Far Cry 2 at one point. And just like, yeah, sure. And this was like, when we're having a conversation of what if the servers go down, that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, Matt still needs to do this. Oh, so there's this experience glitch. It's like, but we don't know if it's actually legit or not. We need a guinea pig.
Motherfuckers. Unbelievable. I have 1.2 million Gamerscore, and you guys are risking my fucking account for this shit? Who needs friends, eh? Who needs friends? All right.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Well, it apparently it's legit because it's posted on the TA guide there, so I'm not worried about it.
We weren't worried. We were just like, let's just be extra safe.
Well, I'll be the Neil Armstrong of fucking getting some glitched achievements.
Yeah.
One small glitch man.
I'm trying to think of any that come to mind, but yeah, your Final Fantasy one is probably the one that was going to take the cake.
So strange. Yeah.
I'm sure there's examples of like lesser known indies where it's happened as well. Like I was looking at the documentation for like that Ray was saying a few weeks back, and like it's 1,050 page document.
Wow.
Like there's heaps.
There's a lot of stuff around how achievements work, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
But that includes like services and everything is part of the whole document. So
sure. Do you guys have an achievement hunting strategy? Do you guys, like, in terms of how you play games, are you guys big achievement hunters? I mean, like, obviously, you'll unlock quite a few of them playing through Game Pass games in general just by playing them. But yeah, are you guys like completionists, or are you just like do you try to play everything out of the game before moving on, or how do you guys tackle it?
Do you get majority achievements and then go, hey, like I've got 5 left, I may as well get it done?
I used to be quite dedicated in hunting achievements. I think the way I play now, I don't even look at the achievement list when my first playthrough. I play through the whole game, and then once I've experienced the story, so there's no spoilers or anything, and anything that I've missed, I'll look at the achievement. So I think, okay, well, if I can go back to that level and do that, or if I can do it on my second playthrough, I'll try it. But I'll look at them, and if there's anything easy, I'll try it. But I'm not going to make a big fuss of like hunting them.
Sure.
I think the only game I've fully 100%ed with regards to achievements is Control, and that was simply because I pretty much played a lot of the side stuff whilst going through that story. So going back was just like sort of the minor inconveniences, like pick up this many documents or something. So that was. I don't think Control has any too sort of outlandish achievements. I think you kind of get everything as you go through the story, if I'm honest. The only other game apart from that I've come near to completing all the achievements was Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, and that was just to fulfill some weird like childhood sort of love for it, really. But that's about it. Like, I think most of the time when I look at achievements, especially ones that I think a lot of games, unfortunately, that I'd like to do 100% achievement runs on are very much locked behind multiplayer achievements. Like particularly stuff like World at War, some of the older COD games, like some of those are like, I think, get to like level 50 or something online or whatever. There's some really mad ones that just aren't feasible nowadays because it just doesn't have the player base. And I think that's probably the death sentence of a lot of games, which I would be a big proponent of. Do not put achievements behind multiplayer slots. What other ones are there that I've kind of nearly put into? I mean, there was one crazy point where it's like, I'm going to go for every achievement at MCC, and then I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing? Like, I have like college work to be doing. I do not have time for this. And I'm definitely not.
Even I'm not that nuts.
I'm not built like that. No, yeah, I think most of the time, as much as I enjoy getting achievements every now and then, like, I won't do it at the expense of not enjoying the experience of the game. So
I was going to say, hello, I'm nuts.
Yeah, no,
20 left.
you are fucking insane. How many you got left?
20 left.
20 achievements left.
Me and Steven started streaming the speedruns, and we were doing great on Halo CE, and then we hit Truth and Reckon. We're just like, yeah, this is
that's
this
usually
is
the
a
stumbling
bit.
block. Yeah, that's the one that gets everyone.
Yeah,
it's like that in the library. Yeah.
Oh, that when we get to the library. Oh, I'm not sure if Steven's
really
watching, but that's going to be a lot of fun, buddy.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
My girlfriend promised me that we'd go through all the Halo campaigns on Lasso. It hasn't happened yet.
That's a keeper there.
So I was going to say that's a good relationship test right there.
I mean, we
everyone
went through
says they'll do those.
Yeah, exactly right.
We went through on Legendary, and the relationship was tested at Halo 2. Certainly.
Fair. It's fair.
I think Halo 2 could test the best of relationships.
Halo 2's Legendary is such bullshit in so many ways. It's just like even like Cairo Station just opening up with that level. You're like, well, I'm just gonna just bend over and just fucking just deal with it because
if it didn't have Iron Skull automatically applied, like I reckon it would be fine. It's just Iron Skull's bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Regret almost broke us, but because we were ready for Gravemind, we were ready for like how bad that level was going to be. But still, it was terrible. Like the checkpoints are just, I don't know who designed that.
No, I don't know. Right? It's
I've played enough now to know where the checkpoints are on most levels. So like, you just got to take the extra second to abuse it.
Yeah. MCC has been one of those games that I've had sitting here for a long time that I've never started, and I don't know if I ever will.
You definitely should,
because I have too much other shit to do. But it's one of those ones that maybe I'll go back to one day, but not anytime soon. I got too many Final Fantasies to do apparently. And then Cameron, do you want to go into your community question that you asked?
Yeah. So essentially, you sent out a bit tying back to the news story before about. Basically having your gamer tag as an achievement. So, community question. Your gamer tag is now an achievement in the upcoming AAA release, the Real Gamerscore game. What is the achievement description and the unlock criteria to get it to pop? Essentially, I went first using example. I didn't give any gamer score, but it was essentially unlock by finding the no shade bush that doesn't have any shadow textures in the game.
Oh, that's a nice callback there, yeah. Mr. Shadowless Hedge.
Tarragon, ZZ Urban Spaceman, 1 gamer score for finding the hidden sleeping astronaut in a domestic bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Skeptical Mario, 10 gamer score. Jumping on top of an NPC while wearing a hat and a mustache. Classic. I'm pretty sure... Borderlands 2?
Yeah, Borderlands has a non-Italian plumber achievement, I think it was called.
That's it. Yeah,
for
cool.
jumping on the enemy's head.
Is it Survivalist? Yeah, Survivalist. Don't get hit by the meteor, which is just classic because he's a dinosaur.
Yep, he is a dinosaur, yep.
Another great callback, Professor Pluto, 50 gamer score. Title, Fuck Gears of War 4. Pull a resupply card from the pack, which many of you know. Alex completely lucked out with that and got it first go, yeah?
And by first go, I mean he got it the first time he paid for it. But the hundreds of packs that he opened before that for free didn't have one in it. What a surprise. The one card that he needed.
I'm actually just can I put in? I'm after like remembering a really funny achievement because I was doing. I did an interview with an indie developer there recently, John Szymanski, who I don't know if you'll recognize his brother David Szymanski. He does like Dusk, which is by New Blood. They do a lot of sort of the retro style shooters on Steam at the moment. But John had a game that he released with another developer called Sumo Revise. And there's an achievement in the game because the guy he was working with gave out way too many free Steam codes that there's an actual achievement for buying the game.
Right, yes,
and
I've heard of the, okay.
There's only 15.7% of the people who own it have that achievement. Which I just think is such a brilliant... Like, it's just so funny, man.
You gotta have a sense of humor about it, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
We have one here from Sony Pony to You, which is CJ, saying 100G, infiltrate a small Xbox community and then report back to the pony ship. It's like, don't worry, CJ. We know you're watching. We're watching you too. But we know you're watching. You know us. We know you watch.
He knows that I drop into the Sony Pony community every once in a while and just be like, so, Xbox is great, yeah.
The Xbox is pretty good.
And just quickly leave. Love you, CJ. What else is there?
Valak C said he had a 0-point achievement for piss off every NPC with a relationship meter. So just be the most unliked person possible, which is pretty on brand for Valak. And then also someone suggested that he should have a second one that's Valaking for finishing a game a day before it leaves Game Pass, which is also very typical of him.
Did you see the? I was talking to him today about it. Did you see the mug? Admiral
I didn't.
Admiral bought the mug, which is like $25 US, that has the description.
Oh, the Urban Dictionary description of Valaking.
Brown color.
Finishing a game right before it leaves Game Pass. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of those recently. That's why I've done Final Fantasy 9. But he is the king of that. He's like, hey, it's leaving Game Pass. Let's fucking do it. And I'm like, mate, that's a 200-hour game. He's like, I don't care. I don't sleep.
Yeah, what was he doing? Like Dragon Quest.
He's doing Dragon Quest 11 at the moment. I think he's just doing that for fun.
And he's like, yeah, I'll get it done by next week. I'm like, I'm sure you will, buddy.
Yeah.
He doesn't sleep.
Keo
Yeah.
is a 13G achievement because fuck you apparently. Stream live in a game with RGSG with 3 other consoles on a LAN network. Yeah, that's pretty true. And then Hush Casket here one was stay in a cryo chamber at the beginning of Halo 2 for 2 hours before leaving because I want my achievement to annoy everyone, which is very funny. That's actually I love stupid achievements like that. Like it's the kind of thing that of course I'll do because like it's not that bad, but it's also just like kind of annoying.
I'm surprised Ubisoft titles don't have like the quick way to finish the game.
Oh, they do. Sure, Fallout 4 has that. If you just with whatever his name is, Pin or whatever at the beginning, if you just sit in that room that he tells you to stay in, he'll actually just bring you to like your mother's burial site and then you end the game.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I'm surprised that they don't actually make it an actual achievement though. Like,
yeah. Well, I guess they kind of wanted people to discover it on their own, right? Like they even did that with 5 as well. If you wait long enough before arresting, what's his face, Seed, they just like
Thomas
just leave and just walk away. Which is probably the right answer because there are no good endings in Far Cry 5. And you also have to play Far Cry 5 to get them, which is also not great. No, that's unfair. That game's alright.
It feels like it's stitched together. That's the only criticism I have of that game.
Yeah, it does. I would agree.
It's a misstep from 3 and 4.
Yeah. If I had an achievement, it would probably be something to do with hacking, I suppose, because my name is a reference to Neomaster, the original cyberpunk Bible. So it would probably be something about hacking the Gibson or something. I don't know. Hacking computers 2005 times maybe. If it was
Talking
my
about
old
the
gamer
Gibson,
tag.
I've noticed you've done a bit of Guitar Hero World Tour lately.
Yeah, I have been a little bit. Yeah, Gibson. Yeah, it's just slightly different Gibson. That's the guitar.
I know. I was just like Gibson. I'm like, wait, that just reminded me.
Nearly done with it. Well, I mean, nearly as done as I'll ever be with it, because I have. There is a skill ceiling, and then there is also there's a skill curb, and I can't actually get up the curb to even get to the ceiling when it comes to Guitar Hero.
So if you want to see Matt attempt some very crazy difficulty songs on stream, and then beg Tarragon for his bot.
His bot, yeah, that would be great. Fuck. Yeah, well, hey, Patreons, you request that you guys give us money. I will dance the monkey dance if I have to.
We should, like, I'm seeing all these other Patreons doing merch lines. We really should start licensing out Tarragon's bot.
Exactly.
Be a very unique pool for the Patreon.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we've got. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the show. So if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at hello@realgamerscore.com or hit us up on Twitter at realgamerscore, which Cameron mans.
Yep.
As previously mentioned, we've got...
I was going to say,
Sorry,
saying that, briefly want to talk about the competition?
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, so like I've said before, on the Twitter, if you're following us there, we really want to get to 500 followers. We're doing a bit of a prize giveaway where we will give out a copy of either Resident Evil Village or Mass Effect, what is it, Legendary Edition? Yeah. So yeah, just chuck us a follow, chuck us a retweet. Tell your friends, 100%, like everywhere. Pretty much just get behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to talk to us and the community, like we mentioned, discord.io/realgamerscore is the best place, and patreon.com/realgamerscore if you want to help support the show. Best place to write in questions is on the Discord, but we accept questions from pretty much anywhere. It just makes it easier for us. And if you want to be on the show, like our lovely guests here, get in contact with Cameron. And they'll do a couple of audio checks, work you into our schedule, see whereabouts you're based, and that sort of stuff. So we can, we usually do the show on Fridays, but we move it around for our guests. Sometimes we do a little bit early, a little bit later. So we're pretty flexible. And if you want to help out the podcast in other ways, subscribe to us on your platform of choice. So iTunes, Spotify, you guys know how. If you've gotten to the end of a podcast, you understand how podcasts work. Leave us a review, tell your friends. Word of mouth is really the key thing for us. Like, we joke about the cramming it into boosting sessions, but I literally do bringing up if it's like, hey, I'm going to be talking about this on the podcast, or I'll give you guys a shout out or whatever it is, for whatever boosting session I've been doing.
Legitimately today, left it in all the feedback.
Amazing. Yeah, they just can't forget it. They're scrolling through their feedback one day and they're just like, oh yeah, realgamerscorepodcast.com. Yeah, I should probably check that out.
Wait, they've been stopped podcasts for like 3 years now? Oh, well.
Yeah, never mind. What are you talking about? This podcast is never fucking stopping.
Yeah.
Subscribe to us on YouTube, Patreon. You guys understand all that works. Hit that like button. Smash the fucking whatever. I'm so tired of that fucking bullshit. But it's like that. So you got to do it. If you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Neomaster on pretty much everything. True Achievements, Xbox, the park, probably on a Saturday night. But I don't ask questions. All right. As long as you bring it, I've got it. Cameron, where can we find you?
You can find me as Shadowless Edge on Xbox, on TA, on Discord. You can find me even now on Twitter, because I've actually changed my profile to be Shadowless Edge. And I also have a website now, www.shadowlessedge.com. That also has a contact form if you're looking to get me on any other podcasts that you might be doing yourself, or just to communicate with me if you want to come on the show. And our lovely guests?
Yeah, so pretty much same as what Connor said, really, to be honest. Bar my own Twitter is @_Johnson_YT_. So just make sure you remember the underscores, really. There's enough of them to remember. So yeah, that's about it.
They're on the stream at the moment, although it might be in the wrong position for the wrong guest.
They are 100%.
Make sure to follow both of them. It's purely deliberate, so you follow both of them.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention it, Cameron, but now that you've drawn attention to it, yes, you completely fucked the placement of them.
Look,
Buy one, get
I'm
one
okay
free. We're a
calling
bundle.
myself out if it's my fault.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got the people who are always on the show that everyone knows, right? At least, so that's good.
Who's
but
this
the
Neomaster
guests are
fella?
complete-
Only game of Neomaster 2005.
Yeah, all right. Well, that wraps up the show. I'm not continuing this fucking circus any longer. We'll catch you guys. Peace.
Catches.